Right into the bans here, wasting no time as we head into Bank for our first map, which is going to show up here as the pick from NAVI. First Bank getting out of the way, though, is going to knock out Hibana. We've seen that become quite a mainstay in terms of the hard breach operator ban here when it comes to these types of maps. No surprise the follow-up either, as Thatcher is immediately going to come after that.
Yeah, Hibana, the Hatch Queen, we usually see her around this space just because she's so very important to the overall play. Thatcher also going to be removed. We all know that reason, but besides that, Mira will be the next operator banned out. So everything as straightforward as you can possibly get for your bank bans, which is actually kind of interesting because Navi's been banning some very interesting things recently. We've been seeing some Flores bans, we've been seeing a lot of different stuff, so expected something a little bit different here, but we're still going to be sticking with the same old same. Thatcher banned, you want to get Kaid off the board to make sure those hatches don't get locked up. Pretty straightforward here.
Obviously, we still have the capability for Maverick to work yourself around that, but most people don't want to take the chance on the annoyance of just dealing with the Kaid in a couple other circumstances as well, so time to knock him out and get rid of him as we head into the first round of this series. Keep in mind, folks, best of threes, not best of ones here anymore for the group stage. You need to play out at least 2 maps to be the victor and gain some points for yourselves here. So we're already starting out at Tellers for the first site here, as it'll be Navi on defense, and we'll be bringing A-string operator lineup. Oryx specifically will be the standout there, as they'll be trying to use that hatch work to move him around the map and possibly add some additional pressure on the roam game. But actually, it's going to 6-picked away back over to a Valkyrie, as that managed to sneak through the ban phase here as well, so she will be in play for this map.
Now, if you guys remember, Bank did end up coming in place of Consulate, no longer having Consulate in the map pool, a map that we had for a very, very long time as well. But Bank, with a free fresh look to it refurbished, especially inside of the lobby space, makes it a little bit easier to play overall for the defense, but still have a lot of risk running outside in kind of that open space. But either way, Navi actually going to be abusing the map early here. This is the big thing about Bank. Every single one of these sites works, so you don't need to play things traditionally with like starting off in the basement or immediately going upstairs. They're not going to do any of that, so they're going to go right to Tellers and Archives.
We did see recently at the NA qualifiers a lot of teams kind of avoiding the Tellers area, but once again, I think as we get back to the true Tier 1 echelon, we're going to see a lot of teams start to incorporate that back in, so no surprise here to see Navi going directly towards that, and no surprise to see them immediately deploying towards this extended game upstairs as well. This is the time waster right here, and they're really going to create a box for themselves with those castle barricades, blocking off all access points towards meeting room there, in addition to reinforcing some of the walls leading over into square. They are going to leave a bit of it open, though, as you can see. It'll create a little bit of a kill box for them to be able to use from the inside of that rotation they made for themselves inside of meeting.
Yeah, this top space going to be immensely important to the overall game plan of Navi. Have to hold on to this and try and prevent Oxygen from abusing a lot of this verticality, and that's the game plan for right now. Have some extra information to work alongside that. You can see the amount of bulletproof cameras coming out in tandem with Blur's black eye cams from Valkyrie as well. So much info on this top floor for Oxygen to worry about. We'll have to see how they try and dice this up.
Already see Doki trying to look for that initial pick as he pretty much realizes there's going to be immediate pressure working itself up on Repel. You kind of have to use it here to fish out some of that extended pressure. And we're going to see Kino putting some heat on these guys as well, both against Doki as well as the other player holding down the hallway leading towards Stock here. Doki put under that pressure, but not backing up just as of yet here. In fact, he's been able to return some nice damage on Akino as he's been dropped to nearly 50% of his HP.
Great choice in weaponry here from Doki, abusing that rifle. Only got to tag some people up, and you can get exactly that done like he does on Kino. Already half of his HP, and now has to play pretty safe when it comes to a lot of the game plan going forward. Obviously, they do still have Yaga, who could possibly use some of his hard breaching abilities to be able to get them into sight, but it's a long road ahead of them. You can see Blur already going for something out here as well. Tags one on top of Square, but it's actually going to be laxing to go down to Doki.
Link going down. That's the Finka being removed as well, since Adrenal Surge is not going to be available for Oxygen to use when they get closer. Kino quickly exchanges that back out, though, with the elimination of Doki, and we go right back down to do a 4v4 after that initial kill is claimed by the defense.
Looks like Navi wants to try and vacate the premises as well. Good idea. They've already got a big pick onto Lax, so might as well get back to site and see if they can possibly play this out in a different fashion. Blur still has a Nitro Cell in his pocket as well, so we could see the nuclear option come in later on to possibly get a pick on Oxygen, trying to work those vertical angles. Also, just look at this base floor right now. Navi is spread so far around this entire space. It's going to be very difficult for Oxygen once they try and work around this area.
Huge time-wasting composition coming out here, and you can see they still have some intel gathering utility upstairs as well that Blur's going to try to use. Nitro is lined up, but I think Fox moved away from it. Oh, and indeed, just barely dodges that Nitro cell before it implodes a couple feet away from him. So, count his lucky stars for now as he keeps himself alive. But like we were talking about before, there is a lot to work through here for Oxygen, and not a lot of time to accomplish it. You can see they're starting to maintain some position now down on the first floor vertical, most notably getting the square access. Secretly, Vertical is able to take out saves with that. Secretly, elsewhere on the map, though, does trade out against Yogg, so we stay even at 3 players apiece here as we head into the final 30 seconds of the round, and Kano close to another duel here, looking like against Nath, but not gonna be able to confirm it. No, it's Blur instead sitting on the other side, but Nath probably close by here as the nades roll in. Does he realize inside of the elevator? Not initially, and Nath just barely gonna sneak that kill up against Kano. Secretly catches Vert as well back over towards Square, and that leaves just Fox hopping down from up on top to try to clutch this out, but there's no time left, and he's barely got any HP left either, so this one is gonna go, despite that very nice kill, to NAVI.
Fantastic comms there from Navi, the adjustment to play that mid-floor instead and make sure they try and abuse the angles that they've established, especially over inside of the kitchen area. That was really the last nail in the coffin for Oxygen when it came down to things. The case going down inside a square, you can't, obviously see Vertical double back and try and get the case because of that kitchen player. A lot of risk being run by Oxygen inside of that situation, so just doesn't really work out for them. I like the effort trying to get into sight, but they just did not do enough on that mid-floor.
So this is the problem now for Oxygen. They need to come in here with a strong strategy to push out a bank win, but the problem is there's not a whole lot of tape for this team on bank. Only 2 plays in recent memory we have for them on this map was back at the Sweden Major, which obviously we don't want to count those results too heavily. As the analysis was talking about, that wasn't a very competitive tournament for Oxygen at the end of the day, so I don't want to count those in, but they were both losses. So once again, considering the fact that we haven't seen them bring it out at any point, I don't believe during the NAL either, lends credence to this being a bit of a risky map for them to be able to go into instead of potentially banning it out. So far, Navi holds the keys to the kingdom, but we'll see if they'll be able to carry forward with that as they head back down to the first floor now for the staff area hold on round 2.
On a huge round for Vertical selection of Operator here as well. He had the IQ initially inside of the last round, but he 6-picked over to the Twitch. We saw him get that nice kill inside of Archives, but now the IQ is going to get a lot of traction inside of this one, not only up against the Pulse, but also against the Valkyrie cameras of Nath as well. So a lot of things for him to get done here. Expect him to try and stay alive and try and get rid of quite a bit of this utility. As for Navi overall, though, they're going to stick to the mid-floor game plan, and they're actually going to shift it over to open area, which is a pretty unique site when it comes to bank. We always talk about it quite a bit when we get here, simply because you can rotate out of the site as well as drop into the site all at the same time. So a lot of interesting ways we could see Navi try and play the map around those, big things going on for them. But either way, Oxygen now out and onto the field here. Not too much of a big change up inside of what their overall game plan is.
Doki once again going to be lining himself up to try and be the first pick, or perhaps the first death if things don't go his way. But so far that's worked out quite well, and not this time as Vertical immediately catches him as he tries to hop out the window there towards the connector upstairs.
Well, you got to try and get away with something cheeky, especially when you're up against Oxygen and people like Vert and Laxing. Laxing as well, if you saw recently, the 9th best LAN player of all time in Rainbow Six Siege. That is not something to turn your nose up to. That is extremely impressive, especially partnered with what Vertical is bringing to the table, especially inside of the last stage, the 2nd most effective player in NA overall. And Laxing, as we speak the man's name, he will get yet another kill for the OXG squad.
Good nade connection here too. Sneaks a bit of damage off on the Blur as he was none the wiser to that one, immediately imploding as soon as it got itself towards the castle barricade to open that out. So not even the intended target there, but a nice bullet or 2 worth of damage being snuck out. And it seems that Oxygen read into the more forward, aggressive opening that Navi wanted to go for on round 1 and are now punishing it so heavily here in the second one. Kino gets the 3rd kill in a row for Oxygen, as Navi have just been reduced to their site players at this point. Only Saves and Blur are left alive.
Can at least get some information out of Blur, but how far does that lead them? Saves, he's going to have a big round here. The impact will at least prevent the wall for now. Yaga still has one more, but Saves has the answer to that as well. Plenty of time for Oxygen to drone out the side and try and get a read on what Navi really wants to do in this moment. Blur trying to move forward, but nothing really to be done. Oxygen really focused on this kitchen wall as of now. They just want to make sure that they measure twice and cut once.
They'll be working their way in now, as you said before, trying to make sure that hard breach goes off without a hitch this time. They don't necessarily have the greatest capability to work their way around this, but now they're going to go directly to put pressure in against Saves, and it works out beautifully. Vertical uses the sound mask to get himself in while barely being noticed, and Blur is now left alone. Good down on the Kino, and a finish off on the Nitro as well, but a very quick exchange from Laxing to give OXG an incredibly dominant round 2 for themselves as we even this up at 1-1.
Yeah, there really wasn't anything there for Navi to do past the opening moments. Once they lose those 2 bodies and Oxygen have control of practically the whole map minus the site, you're really not going to get too far with that one, especially when you have Laxing bearing down on you with 100 bullets. So pretty difficult there for Navi, but that's going to be a tie right now, and we'll just see if Oxygen can possibly put some more rounds together on this offensive side. Navi with a very aggressive front here, trying to get into the face of OXG, but they're prepared.
Yep, absolutely the case. An incredibly quick adjustment from Oxygen to get their feet on the ground there after they get tripped up a bit in the first round. And now we have to wait and see, because to be fair, Navi once again going for both of those first floor sites. well, we see at least open area played quite commonly. This is the big one coming up here in the base where the defense usually ends up edging out the win for themselves. The basement hold will be coming in for NAVI, and this is where they can shift away from that more aggressive strategy if they should so choose and rely more on the architecture of the site to do a lot of the work for them here.
Yeah, quite a bit of a preventable utility coming in as well. We'll have saved on the smoke and nitro cells for quite a few others coming in here to try and prevent Oxygen from getting a plant down. Vertical going to stick to the IQ as well. Not only getting kills with that, but more than likely utility coming in quite handy when he's searching around for those cameras and everything else that's trying to read out Oxygen's positioning. Moments away here from round 3, folks, as Navi still breaking things up on this mid floor. Looks like they want to make some rotations and allow possibly someone like Blur to try and move around this archive space and make things difficult for Oxygen overall.
Overall, shouldn't be too difficult of a task, because once again, we see this quite often on these types of holds here. So for NAVI, and specifically for Doki, he's going to be up to bat first once again here as he tries to find any type of opening picks or opening fights against the opening advance that we're going to get from OXG as they start to put themselves in position to move in here on Repel. Once again, that's mainly going to be to put the pressure onto Doki inside of these opening seconds, but he's well aware of that, so backed away into a more passive position. You'll notice he doesn't really have much in the way of utility support here, so should he notice more than one player pushing him, he is immediately going to dodge out, and right on cue, actually, that's going to happen as he backs down from the second to the first floor, seeing that indeed it's going to be a push not only from the Repel, but square side also.
Good info early on here from Oxygen, so clear out the top floor. Obviously, they'll lose a drone to one of those Mozzie pests, but that's going to be about it. As for the rest of Navi, they've already shifted downstairs, and as you said earlier, they're just going to try and play around the architecture of the site instead. Lean on this utility and try and prevent this plant from going down. Some picks early on, though, would definitely bode well for them, and it's to be expected, especially around this blue space with that M590 in the hands of Secretly.
Still 2 minutes remaining here. It's going to be a very quiet round for both these teams so far. Oxygen want to end up stepping into the Hornet's nest accidentally, so spending a lot of this extra time they're going to have for themselves droning things out, and thankfully for them, because Navi has given up all points of access except for the basement, they're going to have full freedom to do that and as well open up all these rotationals. Now, still going to have to try and open things up in terms of the hatch work here, but they've got plenty of hard breach to accomplish that. Just going to take a good portion of this remaining time back here as Foxy just knocks on the door down below a little bit there as he's in the midst of his sledging. He's getting used to that land sledge still, apparently, as they work their way in.
Well, actually, he's breaking up the desk right now just so they can have angles downstairs via that hatch. It makes it to where this main stairs space is quite difficult to play. Saves will be able to rotate around or really contest things trying to get in towards Red Hall, so more than likely see Oxygen abuse that, whether it be through frag grenades or other means. They still have to get some of these hatches open, and that's exactly what you're hearing go off. Over inside of Square, Oxygen's already shifted gears downstairs into server as Yaga's sitting right outside of the site on the precipice of going for a plant here, but it's more than likely going to be a fake as there's a lot of utility stacked on this Navi side.
Yeah, this is going to be one big fight to probably decide most of this round here as all teams, all players are sitting right at the threshold to enter in. Frag grenade goes in, that'll open up the Red Hull area. ADS is going to get burned out as well. Yaga already trying to move in and bait out players by at least going for the initial defuse attempt, and it works as Laxing's able to line up a nade against saves and get the first kill of the round at only about 40 seconds remaining here. They haven't been able to fish anyone else out from Navi though, so this is still going to be a bit of a rough push as they move in. Nitro cell available, but Secretly can't deploy. He actually backs up a little bit too closely here, and Foxay finishes him off. Not only that, but saves the plan as that'll get that onto the ground. Yogg did get a little scared though and interrupted it for himself. Doki was able to find an exchange in the process, but he cannot lever that pressure onto the site anymore. They're going to try to rotate up the stairs instead, but still, you've got Kino in position to watch out over this. He's going to pick up one before he gets traded out, and Laxing comes in for the assist to shut down the round.
That's a textbook basement attack from Oxygen. Fantastic clear of the top floor. They saw what Navi wanted to go for, and they respected it. That's the biggest thing. Clear out that top floor, force them downstairs, and then do what you do best. Set up that execution and start playing around that plant. I really love what Yaga did there as well. Did you see the amount of times that he attempted that plant? It was like 4 or 5 times, constantly trying to bait Navi into bad positioning, and it worked out for Oxygen. Tossing in nades, pre-firing angles, Foxay also stepping up to actually save the life of Yaga as well from that nitro cell coming through. A lot of positive things for Oxygen here, but for Navi, just could not get it done from the site play.
So some great adjustments ever since the first round here. Oxygen taking full control of this attacking side, which obviously they elected to go into, by the way. This is Navi's map choice, so Oxygen got the side choice here, so they chose to start out on this side, and so far, things are going quite swimmingly. This is the site where they found issue, though, but again, that was more due to, in my opinion, a bit of a misread into what Navi was doing, not able to catch some of the more aggressive players in the first few seconds like Doki, and eventually led to a downfall from there. They have certainly adjusted to account for that, so it's really on Navi here to come up with the winning counter as they head back to the this site for a second attempt to win it as well.
Now we're really looking to Oxygen to try and shift how they're attacking this setup here, because as we've seen in the last couple of rounds, Oxygen really likes starting things around square, and this entire setup makes it really, really awkward to play that space. They have stock control still. You have Doki sitting inside of the main office space with that very long-range EBR. It's just very difficult to try and play around a lot of these, prerequisites that Navi have set in place. So for Oxygen, they're more than likely going to be looking to either try and take things via lobby or try and man these windows and make Doki's life a little bit harder.
You can see Doki was able to fend off a lot of the pressure from the windows. Doki has a lot of support against any sort of type of window pressure we get here too. Two of the laser gates, for instance, set up to assist him on either side of the castle barricades there. So you have the kind of two-tiered protection.
ADS is there as well.
So it's really almost impossible to take these out without dumping most of your utility on it. And man, Kino just so unlucky on this specific site as he takes a massive amount of damage from the very same player that did it to him on the last attempt here as well. He goes down to 25 HP, and it's once again Doki that is firing the shots off against him.
A little deja vu here is Navi finding a lot of success with this top floor strategy. Obviously not as built as we had seen on other rounds, but this one in particular getting away with quite a bit once again here. Be able to dust Kino and more than likely go for a little bit more. Doki worried about lobby now as well. And with Blur in tow, they can still get quite a bit done on this top floor. Now, what's the answer for Oxygen? We're already about halfway through this round, and as John had said before, Foxy doesn't have an answer on this window repel unless he steps up inside of CEO. And Doki, once again, you hear that rifle going off. He's going to tag up Laxing this time around.
You see how much damage it does too. Only one bullet really connecting onto Laxing, but still knocks out a massive chunk of his HP. Forces out at least the first adrenal surge from him as well to try to boost that up a little bit here. Some of the other players will use that. Maybe to get a bit aggressive, but you can't really do that right now. They don't have any safe path of entry, any safe path forward to work themselves into the site, because now we have that same issue that kind of befell them when they tried this site last time as well. Even though we're slowly starting to see Navi creep away from this upstairs hold, there's still a massive amount of presence spread out to areas like open and whatnot on the first floor as well, and Oxygen really just didn't have enough time to deal with that. Now Laxing, I believe, is going to be able to catch some good damage off on a Doki, nearly taking him down, but most importantly, not getting him here. There we go. Foxy finally is able to finish him off, but what? He's wasted 2 minutes in the process of all this time trying to kill one player, so now OXG has to speed run the first floor clear, and they may not have enough time to do it proficiently.
Yeah, Doki's basically condemned them from this position, and once again, that rifle doing so much damage. Foxy is down to a single bit of HP, but that doesn't mean that Oxygen can't get away with this round. Some serious damage onto Secretly. He'll go down and lose his life here as Nath will actually follow through as well. Vertical's made his way inside of Archives. Yaga's there, and now it's Blur. He's not even in position to actually fend this off. He's all the way upstairs, worried about ghosts. He's fighting figures that aren't even here. All of Oxygen's on the mid floor. They're going to get the plant, and that's more than likely the round.
Yeah, Blur's going to try to open up some POVs from up on top, but unfortunately won't really be in a position to use that. Even so, 4 players from Oxygen sit ready to defend off against that. Back downstairs here, so as you said, this is going to be a very futile clutch attempt. Already losing half of his HP to a quick peek on the stairs. Even more than that on the second swing now. We're going to see more and more players just trying to make Blur as a moot point as possible here. Yaga is the one lined up against him by the staircase. Just one more bullet needed to take him out, and it's going to be an easy job as Oxygen secures a 3rd consecutive round, really taking full control of this attacking side.
See, this is where the ugly head is starting to show itself, John. We talked about this earlier as well as the analyst desk. Doki being the player for Navi when it comes down to it. Guys, they placed 8th, I do believe. Let me check my notes really quickly. We'll talk about this, but either way, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they placed 8th inside of Stage 3. Doki, positioning-wise inside of the players, 3rd best in all of Europe. Think about that for a second. That is a massive difference in placement overall for team and placement for player. So, we just cannot have the Doki show coming into this. We need to have all of Navi assisting him and trying to assist in winning these rounds. Otherwise, it's going to continue to be like this. The guy wastes basically 2 minutes and Oxygen still wins the round.
Now, to be fair, that's some good prep work that was done by OXG as they knew that it was mainly just Doki wasting all that time upstairs. You can see they had a couple other players pretty much ready to go for the site attack downstairs once they had cleared him out, but that was the issue. They were waiting for him to go down. You gotta give props to OXG though. As soon as they knock him out, they were wasting absolutely no time getting onto that site. And thankfully, those first 2 to 3 entries go off without a hitch as well, so that even just pushes the point even further of how easily they're able to work their way into the site. Frag power from OXG is certainly something to be respected, at least against Navi right now. As like you said, aside from Doki, we're not really seeing any of the other big proponents of Navi show up as of yet. Most notably, Nath here has unfortunately not been able to put in any huge numbers just as of yet here, where we've seen him do that in the past in the online online leagues.
Yeah, I've got a huge respect right now for Oxygen's synergy. I think that's the biggest thing right now, is especially inside of that last round, all the damage that we saw from Doki and how they were forced to play that out inside of the opening moments. Really being patient for that pick up top, and once they got it, they immediately hit the site like you were talking about. So fantastic stuff from them, but either way, we're going to stick on this mid floor once again here for NAVI. They feel like it can possibly be open area to break this curse that they currently have here on the defensive side. Oxygen is getting away with too much here. Doki going to be changing things up as well. He'll be on the Malusi for this round. Also Blur bringing some frost traps along for the ride.
Just really iron the point home about how efficient Doki has been for this team. The 2 times we've seen the opening kill go to NAVI, they have both been from him as well. So no one else in the squad has been able to take one of those just as of yet. OXG has been splitting that between 2 of their players and might try to do the same thing here as Kino is leading the charge this time as the team is working their way into square and quickly trying to clear out any second floor resistance that might be here. As you can see though, it's going to be a little light this time. Not really much presence whatsoever on the second floor from NAVI as they'll focus instead on the main floor hold here and spreading out their presence there to hopefully confuse and catch OXG with a few surprise positions.
And Oxygen, so very patient with their clear upstairs. Not even halfway through this, the drone work coming through masterfully as they'll clear out the top floor. Foxay going to begin sledging things up and making a lot of these positioning, specifically for Blur right now in Archives, difficult to play. He'll have to move back into the small office and try and play around the hatch instead. A much safer space inside of this area, but also could be condemned later on depending on how Foxay wants to work that top floor. And the other big issue is 0 nitro cells on the defense right now. This might be a misread here from Nath as he has impacts, but we could see them still do some serious damage if he's able to land both of them.
We're getting very close to the push, and he's got to be careful here as we do have alternate angles, but no, Doki walks directly into him and vertical, given the opening kill virtually for free here due to his good positioning. That's going to put OXG in good positioning once again here. Eventually, the Adrenal Surge helping them out a little bit as well. Saves pretty much just getting ready for the hard breach to work itself into staff room here as he has that impact prepped and ready to chuck at the roof here. The problem was last run didn't even get a chance to do the second one because of the lurk that eventually worked its way in. However, Stokes suspension. No! Secretly here. Thankfully, it goes off without a hitch, but that spray could have gone bad very quickly if Yaga didn't step out again to allow him to correct.
You want to talk about a scary moment as a Siege player. That one right there, right when you're tagging somebody's elbow and they don't instantly go down while you have the drop on them, that's always something to worry about, but luckily enough, they'll be able to bag Yaga, and with the minimal amount of time left, NAVI are actually in a pretty solid spot to win this round. It's really up to Oxygen in the way that they can force NAVI into some corners here, making things a little bit easier for people like Vertical and Laxing to do some serious damage.
Kino once again in position to lead the charge for this team, and a great read on the audio cue as well. Notice is secretly working himself up those main stairs and immediately sends him packing in the other direction here. Foxay, another great nade works out, but I believe that Trap is actually going to catch him slightly as he works his way in. Either that, just some unfortunate timing. Either way, the trades come in. There's 5 seconds left to start the defuse attempt. Vertical will get it on the ground. Will he be able to stick it though is the question, as Blur sneaks up and stops it all on his own with the Ida, as we're going to see another round sneak in for NAVI.
Huge round there for NAVI, but you have to give it to Secretly on that flank. The only part of the entire map Oxygen was not worried about is somebody trying to rotate through the basement, and he's able to get away with it there in a big round for NAVI. Bank obviously being an offensive-sided map, these 2 rounds are definitely going to assist NAVI in the long run, but we'll just see if they could possibly get another one on the board. They are headed downstairs where we saw NAVI go for that top floor roam, but immediately fall off and try and trust the site setup instead, where we saw Oxygen abuse that quite handedly. So this round could go either way. I think you gotta really give it up to the picks and what Doki can possibly produce inside of those opening moments.
Yeah, we saw unfortunately Doki getting caught out that time on the transition as the team was trying to fall back to the site with OXG rapidly taking control of things. But this time, hopefully going to be able to contribute a little bit more. So once again, we'll see NAVI complete their second rotation of sites. No variance on that. Not really feeling the second floor hold today, as they fall in line with quite a few other teams' thoughts on that one. Instead, we'll just go back for a second attempt on all the sites they initially tried. Here, the basement is where they will finish off this half and look to try and take control of a third round to tie this up at 3-3.
I mean, not to mince words, but it is a pretty trash site when it comes down to it. You have all of the windows on the north side to deal with. You also have a lobby to deal with as well. Castle's necessary, especially for the checkers position. position there, which obviously leaves the quad window open so they can work the 2 double windows on the other side. I mean, it's just so many people bearing down on you in a lot of key positions inside of that site. It just makes it overall a pretty poor site to play. So I respect Navi's decision to not try and use that top floor and instead abuse both of the mid-floor areas, because it seems like they're quite comfortable in playing that. But as for this basement site, obviously, like we were talking about previously, definitely did not bode too well for them. Looks like Doki wants to try and follow suit as to what we had seen the last time. He's going hunting right now out towards lobby, but as we know with our X-ray vision, there's nobody home.
Yep, absolutely the case. So Doki will more than likely move into a more provisioned position over the next few seconds. I say that, but he's got someone knocking at the front door over there, so he might stick around instead. We'll check in with him a little bit later and see how that is going to potentially follow up. For Foxe, though, he has caught on to Doki's position just outside there, so they will hard lock onto that now and look to hunt him down. He's not actually going to have an easy way to get out of here either, because they've already put the pressure in from Square's side, and oh man, he's going to get absolutely ripped to shreds. Not much longer after that, Foxe pushes in from Banana to finish him off as well. Beautifully done by OXG as they hyper-focus on making sure Doki goes down yet again. This will be the 3rd time he's going to be the first death in the round.
That was extremely well done from Foxe there. The comms overall from the team, you could see their synergy on that top floor in the way that they wanted to try and crunch onto Doki. Could not make it out alive in that position no matter what he did, especially with Laxing repelled on the windows. And now for Navi, it's down to the site setup yet again here, but they're lacking a Doki-san, so we'll have to see what they can possibly get done. Vertigo going to be clearing everything out with IQ's utility as he scans through the floor to see exactly what they have to deal with, getting rid of a lot of different cameras and things along those lines just to make sure this info isn't being fed back to the offense.
Secretly, in the meanwhile, getting within shotgun range of Yogg.
Oh, he swung it!
Pumps him out from blue stairs and drops the case in the progress. Thankfully, the case is still in the open, so that's not going to be too much of an issue, but the lost player will, as that is their hard breach going down as well. More than likely with only a single, at most, thermite charge being used in the process. As we can see, Kino's a little bit lower on his torches as well, so actually might have not even gotten a single one off if that first hatch was open, but don't believe that was the case, as Kino still working on opening his first as well here with 3 remaining.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that secretly put his entire heart and soul into that M590 for that initial pick. It was 1 shotgun shell to rule them all, but now Foxe has been able to frag him out on blue. They open up quite a few avenues here, and now a lot to be done here for Navi. Blur has already used his nitro cell, and he's still with a shield in his pocket as well for some odd reason. We'll have to see if he tries to slap that down later on, but either way, Vertical's going to get the big pick onto saves, and now it's up for Navi to try and fight back, but it's not going to work out for them. It's all up to Nate. He's going to try and move his way up the stairwell, but don't really see this going too well for him. Oxygen's been pretty good about these flanks, all except for secretly, obviously, getting his play around blue earlier on as Castle, but now the plant going down. Nate also trying to man the door. Laxing's got too many bullets for him to fight. He'll swing back in. The 100-rounder will get him.
A swift cleanup coming in there for OXG as we see multiple members of Navi trying to stem the tide, trying to put that pressure back in themselves. Specifically, you saw that hatch play towards the end.
It used to be you could only put 1 on a single door, but now you can stack them up, which is pretty cool. Be able to take people out in a single blow, but not going to have to worry about that this round. Vertical instead taking Valkyrie, which means a lot more to the overall round here, and since Navi doesn't have IQ, these cameras will probably stick around a little bit longer.
Yep, absolutely the case. Things continue to go well for Oxygen, not just in the strategy department, from the individual department as well. Laxing, Foxe, Kano, Vertical, everyone really save for Yaga having a standout performance right now inside of this first game. You heard it before if you were watching one of our co-streamers we saw. I believe it was Iconic, kind of little impromptu phone interview with Kino before this game started. And he was saying, yes, I've been checking out, I've been keeping my ears in the community, and he was saying, no, we feel confident, we feel good about this matchup here. So that certainly has held true so far. Keep in mind though, folks, this is only map number 1, but at the same time, as you can see at the top right of your screen, this is the pick from Navi, so certainly not the best of signs if we see OXG able to run their way through in this first map as we get ready to head onto Coastline, I believe, for our second map. And indeed, that is the case. Getting into this 7th round, the first round of the second half, though, let's take a look at the opening gambit from Navi, as they too are going to hold for a few seconds here. Work on the drone presence for just a few extra seconds here. Make sure there's no additional shenanigans being deployed in the first or second floors by Oxygen before they commit themselves to the inside.
Yeah, we'll get a better tell of the tape here inside of this round and really be able to dictate whether Oxygen is going to sweep this defensive side or what have you. You can see that they're pretty focused on this mid-level as of right now, or at least getting Yaga out. Also have that cardiac sensor out here for Laxing. Is Oxygen always picking up these little odds and ends, these tidbits that really help them out. I've always been a big fan of Pulse overall and what he brings to the table for a team, especially on a site like this in Bank. This is one of his bread and butter sites that we always see Pulse inside of Gold Vault, trying to read around what happens. But the beauty of a good Pulse is exactly what Laxing is doing. Playing around Yaga, playing around his teammates, trying to feed good information, and that's where a lot of these Z pings start to come in. You can see the 2 ping here from Lax as he's giving this information to Yaga on the positioning of these members. Good audio cue here as well. Yaga gonna pre-fire this. They're gonna try and bear down onto him. Is this the clone or is this the real one? It's the real one, and Doki's done. 3 and 7 on the game. They need him now, but he's nowhere to be found.
4th time he's been the opening frag as well, so things just continue to get worse and worse for Navi as they cannot keep one of their most consistent players in the game. And like I said before, other players, at least individually, are not standing out enough as of yet to make up for that lack of impact here. Starting to see some good team play come out from Navi, especially in the late round to fend this off, but compared to the individual skill of Oxygen, it is not meeting itself to be enough as of yet. Fox8 running out of time here to get himself out of server. He's going to try to make the transition, but has caught himself in a very awkward position because of that hatch you can see at the top left side of the screen now. That red silhouette could be the death of him here if he's not allowed out. Good nitro thrown in by Vert. Will it catch secretly, though? Looking like a no on that one, as I don't even think it got a chance to blow up secretly, more than likely shooting it out while it was still in the air. As Navi saves the day in that respect.
Good clay pigeon move there, and Nath, oh no, a misread on, I believe, Kino's position, just not expecting him to be in blue for some odd reason, and gets dusted right on the wall. And now for Navi, I mean, this is basically all she wrote, unless Secretly can do something with these Selma charges. They desperately need him in the moment. With the amount of bodies Oxygen has, I mean, they might as well go on the flank with what Fox8's doing. He's got 1 HP, might as well throw it at the wall, hope that it sticks. They're going to be starting to break down the wall here with the Selma charges, and with 20 seconds remaining, they desperately need this plant.
Secretly able to work his way into the depths of security at a minimum, but not expecting Vertical to be close to the entry door. Fox8 gets a second. From Vert to finish it off as well. He has a massive individual round, and OXG surge forward, just 2 points away now from shutting down the first map.
I mean, Oxygen's looking crispy right now. Cool as a cucumber inside of this position, and yet another plentiful round from them. Especially coming out of the cardiac sensor there from Laxing, being able to read out all of the positioning from Navi practically across the board. They really knew what was going on for the entirety of that round, especially with Fox8 playing over inside of server. Once he gets taken down, obviously we see the big shots there from Kino on the smoke inside of the stairwell. I mean, there was it just seemed as though Oxygen could not do wrong inside of that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will move into round number 8. Like we said before, OXG in a dominating pole position so far in this first map here. Only a few more rounds needed for them to take control, and they are going to feel themselves on the second floor site here, so they'll be transitioning up into that one and try their luck with this, where Navi chose to avoid it completely.
I've got one for you.
Yeah.
I want you to guess the win rate of Oxygen on this map.
Like, in what context? Like
over the last, handful of, seasons, just like the last 6 months. What do you think the win rate is? Yes.
I don't think they played it, really.
Well, I mean, they have a round win percentage.
It's like 20.
It's 22%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
I was going to say, because I was bringing up earlier, the only, in like the last 3 months, the only times they played it was at the major, so... It's not a great track record there, but
yeah,
obviously, like we said, that's like a real skewed example because of the circumstances surrounding their attendance at that major. So,
yeah, especially with how often they played Bank in Stage 3, which was like never.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think they played it in Stage 3.
Yeah, I don't believe so either. But in comparison to Navi with a 54% win rate, that is just a massive difference in between the two. So for Navi, quite the long road ahead of them. Nath is actually going to be changing things up. He's going to be bringing in the Monty instead with a secondary hard breach, something that could be abused. Not so much on this site, but definitely on some of the other sites where we see a lot of hatch play come in. He's more than likely just here for the immense pressure that Monty puts on the defense.
Already 30 seconds into it here, but you can see once again a very slow and tempered Navi as they do not want to misstep yet again, especially to lose someone like Doki or even another player in the opening moments. And it's actually going to be the small office just outside of the lobby that looks like it's going to be the main entry point for this team, as we have 3 players stacked in that area ready to work their way in. Doki leads the charge again, but again as well. He'll be caught once more by Vertical as well. 5 times now he's been the first death here. Just cannot find any sort of luck in these opening engagements. Bloods.
5 times in 8 rounds, folks. That's more than 50% of the opening Bloods going not only to Oxygen, but on to Doki. Insane numbers being put up from Oxygen here in the way that they've been handling Bank overall. Navi stunted as of right now. And just as...
Sorry to cut in. I think that's also the 4th time specifically that he's lost to Vertical as well.
I mean, Vertical's just absolutely disgusting. The only reason that he wasn't the best player inside of North America this last stage is because Hot and Cold exists. That's it. He had a 1.48, by the way, I do believe, off the top of my head there. We'll see if the Liquipedia brain's working today. But either way, Oxygen, once again, getting away with the bag here inside of this round. And the big issue right now is Nate doesn't actually have a gun. He's got his shield, and you don't have Doki. So what do you do next, folks? Well, more than likely lose. We'll have to see, though, as Blur hits a big nade here onto Vertical, and this is what we need to see out of this Navi squad.
Blur has been one of the players we've been looking to see step up. The Deaths talked about it as well, and so far seems to be there as the team needs him. Best kill record so far on the squad, and certainly the most impact inside of this round with that nice nade. Be able to trade out onto Vertical. Time's starting to get a little low, though. Vincere had a chance to shoot him in the back, but the Nitro does it just as well. Nate goes down, and just like that, OXG is back in control with a case down on the ground outside Banana as well.
And I really don't think that there's an answer to the positioning of Navi right now. You have Laxing inside of the Laxing spot, playing it here inside the elevator. Blur has to try and get something done here on Banana, but Kino's already here. Going to be able to take him down with the SMG-11. Foxay tags on to Secretly, and now some saves on Marble. Trying to work his way up, but still some utility to try and deal with these SMG-11s in hands of both the SAS ops, but it's actually Laxing with the pistol instead. He'll work his way up, be able to dust him here, and actually it looks like a little bit of insult to injury. He had the MP5 SD out, but he's like, I'll just use the secondary.
Sidearm it, yeah.
I mean, why not?
Good way to end the round, as we saw the previous round end with the sidearm kill as well. The Deagle kill coming out from Vertical closed down their basement hold. As now we sit with OXG on map point here, and only one full rotation of sites needing to be completed to accomplish that. So they're going to head back over to Staff at open area. They've got a 4-round buffer to build off of as well, so if things go poorly here, cool. We got basement unlock into the next round, and if that doesn't work out, you can go right back up to the 2nd floor as we just saw.
So are you saying that Oxygen is probably going to win this map?
I think the odds are in their favor. Probably a good way to describe it.
Probably forever in their favor as of right now, I'd say. I mean, this is immense for them. I don't really think that there's a way that Navi can fight back in any convincing fashion. The biggest thing right now is obviously the picks going on to Doki, but past that, Navi isn't able to fend off any of these Oxygen members by themselves. You know, and this is going to continue to be a very difficult thing for them. It seems as though throughout the rest of the tournament, I was hoping that we would see a different kind of Navi coming into this from stage 3, but it seems like they're still up to their old antics, sadly.
So let's see if there's going to be any adjustment for them in the cards as we inch close to the end of this first map. Keep in mind, still have maps 2 and 3 around the corner after this one, so there are going to be chances if you're in the Navi camp at home to redeem yourself and the rest of your team.
Well, just as a reminder, our second map is Coastline, and that is statistically Navi's worst map.
Well,
so
just trying to give them some hope.
Listen, EU has plenty of hope. They've had hope for years, John. This is where we get to dash it away. Exactly. We pull the rug out from under them. You know, we got to at least be truthful in what we're talking about, especially with how impressive Doki was during stage 3. To see him be at 3 and 8 right now and having things like this happen to them, I mean, what can possibly be done? Saves will be able to get a refrag, but I mean, Saves really needed it. That's a second kill of the whole game.
Yep. Foxay is going to be able to sneak out and basically guarantee a 1-for-1. Wanted to be a little bit fast and see if he could sneak.
It's actually worse than that, John. That's the sledge.
That's true.
That's
very, and,
oh no.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that we're on an open site.
Oh
as well.
no.
All of that top down, not going to happen now, and they do not have a way to make up for it in terms of secondary utility on someone else, I don't believe.
They don't have any secondary to be able to do anything at all. You're completely correct. Doki has nades, he has the ARX, that can at least break up some things. Everyone wants to waste some mags on stuff, but like really their only option, I guess, would be Nath possibly putting some secondary hard breach down on the floor. Big pick up here from Secretly, he'll be able to take down Vertical, and obviously since Foxay's already lost his life earlier on, this is going to be an advantage towards Navi, but what do they do with this now that they can't use that verticality? Just
going to have to leverage the numbers advantage some way, somehow, and crunch this from the first floor. But so much hard breach set up to counter that back out. Thankfully, again, Secretly still alive, and Laxing with a dash out into the open just absolutely catches Saves in the midst of it. Takes him out and evens us out once again, allowing for Oxygen to play the safe game once more, fall back and keep themselves nice and tucked away close to their site, as they have no real reason to throw out aggression at this point in the round here, especially as we are already halfway through it, and both Secretly and Doki have already taken on some heavy losses in their HP as well.
Navi back onto the info game, but might be too little too late at this point. 1 minute and 10 seconds, still have that top floor, but as we were talking about before, no way to actually abuse that. They'll instead have to try and funnel in towards site and fight these Oxygen members, but they really need a solid info base to work off of to make this happen. Doki at least knows that one is playing inside of open area, but Kino could be inside of any of these cubicles at any moment in time. And with Yaga also here on Marble, I mean, there's just not very many avenues for Navi to actually get in towards site. Secretly is going to start breaking things up with this Selma charges on the kitchen wall, so this could be a sign of where they want to try and put this plant, but they're going to need a little bit more of a break here for Nate to try and work his way in, but he'll instead choose the kitchen door as he'll try and get in behind the island. Now the big thing now for Navi is that they can actually get a plant inside of this space. They don't have any smokes, and with Doki with a pick onto Laxing, this can definitely be done.
Yeah, absolutely the case. They've been given more than enough room to work this plant. Yog is able to find the exchange on the Doki. The Nitro's out, but I think it falls a bit short. Nice catch from Yog on the second frag, and now it's only Nath alone, and unfortunately he will be cut down very, very quickly by the shotgun. Great retake, and a quick one at that from Oxygen, and they are going to absolutely shut down Bank here with a 7-2 scoreline.
The last